So here is Escher on day 13 and doing another session, just kind of playing around with body control and keeping things nice and easy. Now, for him, I had mentioned in previous how I thought the rope was a little heavy. He seemed to be a little sensitive to the rope, so I've spent a lot of work with the ribbon tool, and now I'm going back with the rope, and I'm getting him used to where it touches, and I found if I throw the rope past and then pull it up that way, that's a good way to get him used to the feeling of it without it necessarily kind of smacking him on the side. Sometimes when we go to work them with the rope and toss the rope over, it gives kind of a hard feel to them. So just some things I've kind of been playing around with him, getting him used to that. And now I'm going to work the right side, kind of the same thing, getting him used to things, kind of draping, using the rope in that way, to where then it's not an issue. Because this is going to build to, eventually then the saddle has to go on, and that's quite a big piece of an object going on there. So this is kind of the baby steps of that. You see, still just can get a little worried with a little bit of the flinch. That time he didn't, so that was really nice. I'll let him move his feet around some. Now I'm going to ask for a step back off the pressure of the halter. Using the word back is how I like to teach my horses. And then I try to make sure that whenever they give me any movement backwards, I respond to that with a release. And then he gave me a nice lick and chew. Let him think about that for a minute, and then go back to the rope. He's handling that pretty nicely. And this also is good practice for if I wanted to use a rope or throw a rope while I was on him. This is kind of a good foundation for that work. Now I'm going to take his halter off so we can do some liberty work. So coming back with a step, I always like to introduce the tool that I have first. And I'm going to work on the back here. So I'm asking him to back, and I'm just going to do some light touches with the stick. You have to tell him to not eat grass. And there he took a step back with the hind legs first. And that was even better. That was more so off of my voice. I'm going to ask him to isolate his shoulder. And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm thinking in my mind what I want him to do as well, so I can have that connection. Now I'm working on the draw to me, and now I'm going to switch to the shoulders to get the right shoulder to move. Those were some nice steps. Again, this session ended up being a total of 15 minutes. So not too long, but he seems to be working really well with the short sessions, and he's a pretty smart guy. So it's been fun just taking things slow and working on improving some things. Now going back to leading at liberty and working on just a little quarter of a pivot there. He's giving me a nice lick and chew. And then I'm going to make sure when we stop, I'm going to give him a nice reward, rubbing on his neck. And this is all pretty low energy work for this day. And there he thought about leaving. Then I was able to say his name and he stuck with me. So that was really good. So now I've transitioned back to the ribbon tool. I'm just going to do a little bit more work with that. And he's doing a good job of following. And by doing this, I'm hoping that when then I introduce the tarp, he'll have a nice grasp of the concept, and so the tarp won't be an issue. So he's handling this. He's actually appreciating this on his face because of the bugs. And then just going through, kind of rinse and repeat, going through, giving him the rubs. You know, in the whole scheme of things, this session of 15 minutes isn't very long, but it's a lot of the same things that I've been doing every day. So just working on getting that trust and confidence and building the connection, of course. And he's handling this pretty well. Now he's got that pretty good, and he's also drawing to me really well. Then I increase the pressure of the ribbon stick a little bit. It makes a little bit louder sound. You can tell he's not very worried about it. And he's following that really well. Handles that going on his face, kind of no problem. And he's a lot different horse than, say, Eton, who is highly reactive and very, very sensitive. So it's been nice to have a little bit of a different type than the flighty ones. This guy's definitely confident, and it's just been teaching him to build upon that. So we're going to go back here. And you'll see I'm always kind of looking back at the camera. I'm always trying to make sure I'm in frame. So going here, setting him up to pick up his feet. I like to make this very, very routine. I'll do this a couple of times a day. It is a good exercise in building trust with them, as well as just making sure your horse has good manners for the farrier. So working on picking up the hind foot. I like to cue all my horses with the voice cue first, so I will say foot, and that tends to work pretty well for me. He gives a good little lick and chew there, so we'll take some time and give him a nice reward of rubbing and making sure the flies are out of his face. Coming to the right side. It's doing that pretty good. Making sure I can rub all around. And moving to the back. This side, he's a little bit stickier and he tends to want to lean, which I found sometimes if you try to put that foot down and move away because you get a little worried about the hind end, that can actually spook them. So if I stay a little closer, they stay a little bit more relaxed. So really pleased with Escher's progress.